Do whatever he has to do to get himself reelected. Tonight he has to deliver a convincing speech, convincing in its approach to the economy. This comes at a time when consumer confidence, as measured by the Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index, is just reporting a 2-point drop in consumer confidence. Not the sort of thing the president wants to hear the day of his State of the Union address. The president has already indicated much of what will be in this speech. He has an economic growth package he wants to propose. He's talking about health insurance for the nation's many millions who do not have it. There are some tax cuts, some cuts in defense spending that will be in this package. It's what the president has labeled his domestic desert storm. But President Bush was not giving away anything more about that speech today as he engaged in a little banter with the irrepressible correspondent Helen Thomas.
Going to be a good State of the Union address tonight?
What's so surprising about that inquiry?
A bell ringer?
I think it's going to be all right.
Surprises?
Yes.
On what?
Helen, come on.
Actually, White House spokesman Marlin Fitzwater says what surprises are left will be relatively small. Nothing, in Mr. Fitzwater's words, that will rock you out of your chair. This is in part because the White House itself has been doling out elements of the speech over the past few days and even weeks. There has also been an effort here to lower the expectations. Mr. Fitzwater says the Democrats have been raising the bar so high the president could hardly jump over it. That's a little surprising since it's the president himself since November who has been saying, wait for the State of the Union address. And it was the president campaigning in New Hampshire just last week who delivered a mea culpa, saying that he had been late to recognize and communicate the nation's economic problems. So tonight, he has his chance. Catherine?
Well, Charles, talking about rocking us out of our chairs, is there some big point or big issue, big question Bush has to address tonight?
Well, I would think that the big question that he has to answer is just what is it he's going to do? And there are some economists that you talk with and who've made certainly their views public in this town who say that the real thing is not to do anything that amounts to tinkering that could make the economic situation worse, that maybe the best thing to do is let the economy come out of its doldrums, as it were, even if it comes out weakly, as some suggest it might in the second quarter. But then it is this political year that cannot be ignored, and to do nothing in an election year is not the best mark of a politician. So the pressure is on the president to do something and to tell us what that's going to be.
Well, Charles, there's been much build-up for the primary remarks, but we haven't heard much about the rebuttal yet. Any hints on what the Democrats might say?
Well, they're saying that they'd be happy to work with the president. They're pleased to hear, of course, that he's taking the economy into consideration. Senator George Mitchell, the majority leader, has laid out a number of things that he thinks are important. A middle-class tax cut being the primary one on the Democrats' side. Everyone is talking health care these days. There is at last a recognition that something needs to be done in the way of health care. And you'll hear that sort of thing tonight when the Democrats make their response. Then what happens, as it happens every year, is you get into the legislative battle when the White House, the executive branch, and Congress, the legislative branch, try and sort things out. And what comes out in the end in the way of legislation is rarely what we hear proposed on the night of the State of the Union.
Yes, indeed. Charles Bierbauer at the White House. Thanks for the preview. Bernie?
Thank you, Catherine. The men vying to boot George Bush from the Oval Office also are playing the State of the Union expectations game, and they're not expecting much from the campaign trail. Here's a sample of the spin on Bush's speech.
The question is going to be, is he going far enough in the direction of conservatism? And secondly, after 3 years and the existing record, is Mr. Bush, the leader who brought us into the recession, the same man to take us out?
I want him to be responsible. I want him to demonstrate he doesn't listen to his pollsters.
He's going to get up there and tell you he knows things are bad, but he's going to take care of them. Well, I'm sorry, George Bush. You had your chance. You blew it. Time to get out. Time for a real Democrat to get in there and turn this country around.
Harkin and fellow candidate Jerry Brown plan to join New Hampshire Democrats tonight as they make their own statement about the State of the Union. The candidates and local leaders will talk economic issues at a financially strapped middle school in Franklin. Assembles say the Democrats are suffering across the state and the country. We should tell you that Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton is running a bit late. He is on the ground in Houston, Texas. He is speeding to a location where we hope to be interviewing him very, very shortly as Inside Politics 92 continues.
Welcome to Hotel Views. Business travel, Holiday Inn or Ramada. Bob?
Susan, you corporate write-off. People on business want a decent meal and a place to rest their bones. That's it. If you had a real job, you'd know that.
Bob, you wing-tipped weasel. Ramada has comfortable rooms, nice restaurants, meeting rooms, and lounges, just like Holiday. But Ramada's Business Club earns you bonus points faster toward over 10,000 gifts. But what would you know about business? Your brain filed for bankruptcy. Case closed. Ramada's in, Holiday's out.
In the early 90s, the real estate business changed.
I've got your financing seminar, 2 closings, and a showing.
Busy day.
Busy morning.
Professionals took control, trained to use the latest marketing tools, responsive to the real human issues.
He's not moving, but we've got a meeting set for tomorrow.
And one organization is setting the pace. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. Join us. Call 1-800-ADVANCE.
If you suffer from the common aches and pains of arthritis, doctors know that a safe and effective way to relieve them is something you may already have in your home. Extra strength Tylenol gel caps. Tylenol helps relieve arthritis pain without irritating your stomach, the way aspirin or even ibuprofen can. What should you take for your arthritis pain? Talk to your doctor. The answer may be closer than you think. Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
Tomorrow night, New York Governor Mario Cuomo reacts to the President's State of the Union address and looks ahead to New Hampshire and the Democrats' chances for regaining the White House. Tomorrow night, Larry King Live, 9 Eastern on CNN.
If nothing else, tonight's State of the Union address should provide a good fix for political junkies. Many of those pundits think the president has put all his election year eggs in one basket, and tonight he's likely to wind up with a few yolks on his face. But our own political analyst, Rick Allen, sees things differently. Rick?
Catherine, there's no question that the president has whipped up a lot of interest in this speech. Wait for the state has been a sort of mantra Bush has been repeating for weeks now. His own press secretary finally said expectations may be too high, which may be a little like saying, stop me before I kill again. But the problem isn't the speech. It's what comes after. Candidates are free to create whatever backdrops they want. Flags are a good bet. And patriotic music. Faces that look like a Norman Rockwell painting. 4 years ago, touring a flag factory, George Bush proved himself a master of the photo op.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
But this is the real thing, not a photo op. A State of the Union speech is, by definition, presidential. The backdrop of Dan Quayle, Tom Foley, and the flag is guaranteed to give any president a boost in the polls. Even if the speech is mediocre, the opposition has to sit and listen. Voters can't help being swayed. The problem is figuring out what to do next. In 1988, Bush ran against a stereotype. Driving that truck,
Especially for me. Right.
chomping down pork rinds, he played a regular guy, a non-wimp. Debating Michael Dukakis, he could afford to be mean.
That answer was about as clear as Boston Harbor. How are you? Nice to see you.
But as president, he isn't supposed to behave that way. Bush's hyperactive visit to New Hampshire this month, putting on a hat, petting a cow, chowing down on a pizza, made him look unpresidential. And as for his tone...
I vowed I would come over here tonight and be calm, but I'll tell you something. I'm a little sick and tired of being the punching bags for a lot of lightweights around this country yelling at me day in and day out.
He sounded overwrought. Bush has to be a kinder, gentler candidate this time around, but he can't afford to be too kind and gentle either.
Hello, this is Skinner. Who's speaking?
A campaign isn't a playhouse. That bunch of lightweights, as the president called them, will begin dissecting tonight's speech before the applause even dies out. Bush, the president, will have made the most of his moment, but Bush, the candidate, has his work cut out for him. The real test isn't his State of the Union speech, it's the speech he gives next. Catherine?
Okay, Rick, you're not satisfied with the speech. You're already looking down the road. What's the encore?
Well, exactly. We're going to be looking at Bush next in Philadelphia on Thursday. He speaks to the Chamber of Commerce there to expand on a State of the Union speech that's already the size of the Goodyear blimp. But by then, the Democrats in Congress will have weighed in, the Democratic candidates will have weighed in, the editorial writers and the TV pundits, and by then there'll be more questions, and Bush's momentum may already be dissipating a little bit.
So much more to look forward to.
You
Thanks,
bet.
Rick. Back to Washington.
Thank you, Catherine. On the campaign trail today in Texas, Democratic presidential contender Bill Clinton trying to direct his White House run away from sensational allegations and back toward substantive issues. The Arkansas governor may take heart from a new USA Today poll that indicates few New Hampshire voters have been swayed by unconfirmed tabloid tales of his alleged involvement with a former nightclub singer. In addition, more than 70% of those surveyed by ABC News last night don't think Clinton's marital fidelity should be an issue in campaign 92. They want the news media to get the message and drop the matter. And that sounds fine to Clinton.
I've taken my character test. Now the character test is, what do you do with cash for trash? What does the legitimate media do with cash for trash?
That was Governor Clinton in Texas, and right now we're playing a game called Waiting for the Governor. Inside Politics 92 will be right back.
Across the world, phones are ringing. Who's calling?
Hello, Mom. It's Jonathan. I'm getting married.
People who are saving money with the AT&T Reach Out World Plan. They're calling friends and family in over 50 countries and areas, talking longer and saving an average of 20%. Even if you spend only $12 a month on international calls, sign up and start saving. Whether you call across the Atlantic, the Pacific, to Canada, or to Mexico.
Did you see the phone bill?
Yeah. Hola, te adora.
AT&T makes it easy to save on the calls you already make. You'll even get a 5% discount on AT&T state-to-state calls made from your home. Call 1-800-445-3231 and sign up now. Because with this plan, when a loved one is far away, you can go ahead and call.
I miss her, too. We could call her in Tokyo, huh? You want to call Grandma?
And the longer you talk, the more you'll save. No need to wait for the right time to call either. You have over 120 hours a week to save. The AT&T Reach Out World Plan. With these savings and all the quality and service you expect from AT&T, it's our best value in international calling.
I'll call you. We'll call you.
So before you make your next international call 1-800-445-3231 and start saving an average of 20%. All for only $3 a month. Across the world, phones are ringing. Who's calling? Soon it may be you. Sign up now for the AT&T Reach Out World Plan. Call 1-800-445-3231.
I was dead wrong. I was thinking about Eisenhower. He told them in person, and now President Bush is driving home his I care message on the airwaves in New Hampshire. While the Bush ads are warm and fuzzy, challenger Pat Buchanan's commercials pack some sharp edges. As part of our continuing look at democracy in America, CNN special assignment correspondent Brooks Jackson puts these GOP commercials under the microscope.
I have never seen it so bad.
This commercial is George Bush's apology to New Hampshire voters.
You can give it to me straight because we've known each other a long time. A lot of you are hurting. I've seen the pain in people's eyes.
Bush is saying, I care, I hear you, I promise to do better.
This state has gone through hell, gone through an extraordinarily difficult time. I am determined to turn this state around.
We asked an advertising expert to analyze the Bush ad.
This is not an attack ad. This is not vicious. No one here claimed anything. There wasn't a promise. There wasn't an answer. Nothing was really stated here other than, I'm George Bush. I'm not running away from this.
The Bush campaign's first television commercial may not be very specific, but it is positive. Bush's challenger, Patrick Buchanan, however, is running the first negative attack ad of 1992. And the Buchanan commercial is not entirely accurate.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Then Bush hit us with the largest tax increase in history.
Stop right there. It's true, Bush did give in to a tax increase despite his promise not to. But it's not history's biggest by any of the usual measures.
If Pat Buchanan really thinks that the last year's tax bill was the biggest tax increase in history, he's got a screw loose.
The 1990 increase signed by Bush will raise $26 billion this year, according to the U.S. budget. Much smaller than the 1982 increase signed by Ronald Reagan, which will raise an estimated $64 billion this year.
Based upon OMB estimates, it appears the 82 Act is perhaps 50% larger than the 1990 Act.
But it's not true what Pat Buchanan's saying.
I don't see where they get that conclusion.
Buchanan says the conservative Heritage Foundation backs up his claim, but the Heritage study is dubious. It compares only the first year of each increase before either was fully effective. And that's the only way to make the Bush increase look larger than the Reagan increase.
Can we afford 4 more years of broken promises?
That's a fair question, given Bush's broken promise, but here's another. Can voters afford another presidential campaign in which candidates overreach the facts to attack their opponents? Brooks Jackson, CNN, Special Assignment.
We understand Governor Bill Clinton has arrived at the studio in Houston. We hope to be talking to him right after this.
Larry Bird was born to be a champion. He was instilled with a competitive fire and passion that would never die.
One way or another, Bird kills you.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ.
Larry Joe Bird was destined for glory in the game he loved. Get Bird watching at its best in this amazing video. Larry Bird, a basketball legend. It's free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated, the best way to capture all the drama of sports every week.
There's only one place I'd rather be, French Lick.
Through rare footage, you'll follow the victory trail from the cornfields and basketball courts of Indiana to the hallowed halls of the Boston Garden, where the talented young Hoosier resurrects a fallen dynasty. Call this toll-free number now and be there when the championships are won. Share the glory, live the moments with the man who touched all who saw him play.
Larry Bird never quits. He has eyes all around his head.
We can always just give it to Larry. He needs to step back and shoot a 3.
Bird, 4-3. Yes!
Exclusive footage captures the hard-fought and emotional duels with longtime rival Magic Johnson.
This game is Larry Bird. I mean, he's doing everything.
This official NBA video is a thrilling 60 minutes that you'll enjoy again and again, free from Sports Illustrated. Get your free video and a full year of Sports Illustrated. 54 issues, including the swimsuit issue, for only $1.29 an issue. Save over 55% off the cover price. And you may use your credit card. Follow all your favorites and all the excitement in Sports Illustrated. Call now to subscribe or renew and get this memorable video free. For quicker delivery, use your credit card. Don't miss this heartwarming tale of a boy who lived his dreams, the dreams of a champion. It's the story of a legend. The legend lives in Sports Illustrated. Call now.
He made it. Joining us now to launch a series of live interviews with the major candidates is Arkansas Democrat and Governor Bill Clinton. He is campaigning in Texas this afternoon and joins us from Houston. With me here in Washington is CNN Special Assignment Correspondent Ken Bodie. Governor, how do you think you're doing in name recognition now?
I think we've cured that problem. I feel good about it. I've had a lot of warm response in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas in the last 2 days, and the last couple of days in New Hampshire were very, very good. So I think my name recognition's up, but I believe the message is getting out too, and I feel good about that.
Governor, it's Ken Bodie talking to you. You said today that you think you have now passed the character test. What was that character test?
Well, what I meant by that is I believe that my wife and I have been very candid and open with the American people. I have been overwhelmed by the number of people who have said they appreciate what we said and what we didn't say and our commitment, and I think now this matter is in the hands of the American people and in the hands of the press. I'm going back to my campaign and to my message and to reaching out. I think the reason I was doing well is that I really tried to respond to the real problems of real people. I tried to give hope and bring out the best in people and not get into the kind of politics that has so debased our process in the last 10 years and undermined our ability to turn this country around.
Governor, as you know, this story remains on the front pages of most newspapers, and it remains on the minds of a lot of people. Unfortunately, it really does become important to ask you a couple of more questions on that subject that arise from the news conference of Jennifer Flowers yesterday. As you know, CNN has not played those tapes, and will not play the tapes until we are absolutely certain that they are verified and so forth. But there are a couple of questions. Were you personally involved in obtaining for Jennifer Flowers a job with the state of Arkansas? And if so, what did you do for her and why?
No, I didn't. My office attempted over a period of about a year, I think, to assist her, as we did hundreds of other people. There is a section in the governor's office, there always has been under my administration and others, which attempts to refer people who are interested in it for state jobs. We don't ever make anybody hire anybody, and we didn't in this case. This has all been thoroughly explored and is a matter of public record at home. The person who did the hiring has been interviewed on television, has pointed out that a merit test was taken, that she was a former state employee, and that the contact he had with our office was the same sort of referral mechanism that we've had in other cases. So I did, you know, at the time feel sorry for her because she was complaining that she'd been abused by people who were trying to spread rumors that she continued to maintain were false, and she was in trouble. So our office tried to assist her, but we did not. She was turned down, I think, or not accepted for one job that she applied for, and then several weeks later she got another one.
Governor, one more question on that subject. Allegedly, Jennifer Flowers released tapes yesterday with your voice on the tapes. Did you have the conversations with Jennifer Flowers as reported on those tapes, and is that your voice on the tapes?
I have not listened to the tapes, and I can't say. I noticed that they were, from the transcripts that I saw, it seemed that they were garbled at various points, which was interesting to me. I noticed that she did say the Republicans had offered her some money. I don't know what the facts were or why there was no tape on that. But she called me several times, each time very upset that she said she was being harassed, her life was being interfered with, and she just wanted to be let alone. She couldn't imagine why she was ever involved in the lawsuit in the first place, or why, given the fact that she had hardly seen me in public over the last 10 years, that she would be involved in this. She was very, very upset, and every time she'd call me, she'd call my secretary or the mansion. It was all a matter of record. I told my wife about it, and I would return her call.
With the State of the Union...
I never did initiate... Go ahead.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to clip you off.
That's all right. I was just going to say I never did initiate a call to her. I just tried to return the calls that I got, as I do in every case when someone calls me.
With the State of the Union address in mind, how much time will you give President Bush to see whether his economic proposals work?
Well, what I think we should do with the president tonight is listen to what he says. From what I've heard, one or two of the ideas that he might propose, I think, have some real merit. But I think it'll basically be more Band-Aids. I do think it'll be more vigorous than in the past. Certainly in rhetoric, if not in substance. They're very concerned about falling below 50% in approval. They're very concerned that they may have an economy that's spinning out of control. I think they're just gambling on low interest rates, provoking an economic recovery. But I believe that if he comes out with something good, we ought to support it, because the country has both a short-term and a long-term problem. The short-term problem, the lowest 3 years of growth since before World War II. Perhaps we can work together to turn that around. There is no way that this president will propose the kind of dramatic structural changes we need for the long-term health and welfare of the American economy, because this administration does not believe we need a coherent, aggressive national strategy to recover our economic leadership and restore the middle class in this country.
The federal deficit is going to reach $352 billion. Precisely what would you do about it?
Well, the first thing you have to do is to stop the bank failures before they spill over into the deficit. If you can do that and we pay off all the S&Ls, that's about a third of the deficit. And that would take a third of it away on an annual basis. The second thing you have to do is to begin to reduce defense spending at an appropriate level. The present defense budget, which I do expect the president to recommend cuts in tonight, is premised on the existence of a Soviet Union, which isn't anymore. Third thing you have to do is to get control of health care costs and provide a basic package of coverage for all Americans, a core benefit package which really does the job. We're spending about $100 billion a year now on wasteful insurance finance mechanisms and unbelievable bureaucratic micromanagement of all health care decisions because of federal rules and regulations, that if we had a uniform benefit package and a whole different way of structuring the health care system, we could eliminate. So if you control health care costs, reduce defense, stop the failures of the banks, and then I have recommended a minimum of 3% administrative cut in the federal government over the next 4 years, you would have a lot of money to reinvest in the future and to pay down the debt.
Governor, the death penalty is not really a federal issue, but it's one that governors face all the time, and one that you face many times as governor, and it's on the minds of a lot of people because of the execution that occurred in Arkansas a few days ago. Could you tell us, please, what legal and personal decisions you face when you allow a death penalty to go forward?
Well, I have allowed 3 executions to go forward in my state, and in each case what I did was to review the facts of the case to satisfy myself that the defendant got a fair trial and a fair set of appeals, that there was no doubt as to the guilt of the defendant, and that there was no basis for commutation, that is, no compelling case for avoiding the execution. I support capital punishment, and as I have throughout my political career, but it is always a difficult and painful thing, and sitting there in the governor's mansion with an open line to the prison system, reviewing at the last moment all the facts, thinking about the life of the defendant as well as the lives of the people, in this case all 3 of them were multiple killers, the lives of the people that were taken. It is not an easy decision, and it was not an easy decision last week.
Why should someone vote for you simply because of promises you make?
Because I have a record in public life of keeping those promises. Of all the people in this election, including the people in the Republican Party, including the president, I have spent the most time at the work that is now taken center stage in our life. How do you get and keep jobs in a global economy? How do you educate people? How do you solve social problems? How do you unite people? How do you unite people across a broad philosophical range in a coalition for change to keep moving forward? Those are the things I've done for the last 11 years as governor. And I think if you look at my record, my commitments, and the specificity of what I'm committing to do in the future, you've got a much better chance of getting the changes this country needs with me than with any of the other people who have presented themselves in this campaign.
Governor, a lot of Democrats are for you because you look like you're the most winnable candidate, the candidate who could do best against George Bush in 1992. Do you think after the last few days you still rank as the most winnable candidate, and how do you, what do you expect Republicans to do with this issue in the autumn? And we need a brief answer, I'm sorry to say.
Well, I think that the people in New Hampshire and in the primaries will decide that. If we're going to go for basically cash for trash journalism, that's one thing. If the people say, no, we don't want that, we're going to run on the issues. We want to run on what's happening to our families tomorrow's and not Bill Clinton's families yesterday's, then I think I am by far the most electable candidate because I've got the best message and the best record.
Governor, thanks so much for hot-footing into that studio there in Houston. Thanks a lot. Catherine?
Thanks, Bernie. And we'll be hearing from the incumbent. You need to stay with CNN for extensive coverage of President Bush's State of the Union address. We'll carry the speech live tonight beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern, and Inside Politics team will be back at 12:30 Eastern for an analysis of the address. CNN political analyst William Schneider will have results of a post-speech poll And we'll hear how the Democratic candidates rate Bush's performance. And that wraps up another edition of Inside Politics. I'm Catherine Crier in Atlanta.
And I'm Bernard Shaw in Washington. Now here is Sharyl Attkisson with a look at what's ahead on CNN.
Right around the corner, Bernie, an issue of prime concern to older Americans, health care. We'll look at tonight's State of the Union address and President Bush's prescription for making health insurance more affordable. Also, is Bill Clinton's campaign on the rocks? We'll talk to political analysts about the interview CNN just conducted with the Democratic candidate. That's next on Early Prime.
Coming up, Early Prime continues, followed by Showbiz Today, after a word from your local cable systems, next on CNN.
These beautiful homes weren't always beautiful. Before their owners had ABC Seamless apply this beautiful new siding, some of these homes looked old and worn. But they have a bright future, because now they will always be beautiful. Your ABC Seamless siding comes with a lifetime limited warranty. That warranty is possible because ABC Seamless siding is made of steel. Not too many years ago, siding was made of aluminum. You can see the problem with aluminum siding. It's so soft it dents. Also, the finish tends to chalk and rub off. To solve the problems of aluminum, vinyl siding was invented. Vinyl won't dent, but when it gets cold, it's brittle. Hail knocks vinyl siding full of holes. Vinyl can't stand high temperatures either. Look what happened when there was a fire next door. You don't dare get your charcoal grill too close to vinyl siding. There's another problem with vinyl. Because vinyl expands and contracts so much with temperature changes, it cannot be nailed tightly to the wall. The result is not very stable, and strong winds can rip vinyl siding off the wall this easily. What's the answer? Good old American-made steel. And ABC Seamless siding is tough, 29-gauge U.S. steel, 3 times heavier than aluminum. It's galvanized, epoxy-coated, and the vinyl finish is 3 times thicker than other finishes. ABC Seamless siding is so tough, it comes with a lifetime limited warranty. Someday, all siding will be made like this.
As homeowners, we are all aware of energy cost. Making your home energy efficient is important, and here in Iowa, there is a company that can help you, ABC Seamless Siding, because they use quality siding, installation, and energy-efficient windows. I fully endorse ABC Seamless. Not only can they beautify your home, they can save you money too. As energy costs keep climbing, put your energy bills in check. Call today and find out how affordable ABC Seamless products can be.
This is CNN.
I'm very bitter. I feel the system has let me down.
The nation's ailing health care system. Will the President's State of the Union address provide the dose needed to revive it?
And the lingering question of conspiracy, how the release of Dallas police files could provide new clues into the assassination of JFK. Welcome back to Early Prime. I'm Lou Waters.
I'm Sharyl Attkisson. It's dubbed Operation Domestic Storm, an economic equivalent to the Persian Gulf War. With the unveiling of the State of the Union address tonight, President Bush launches a full-scale attack on the nation's economic problems and, in effect, launches his re-election campaign. The president went over the highlights of the speech today with members of his cabinet and Republican leaders. White House strategists consider the address one of the most important of his presidency. It comes as Mr. Bush's popularity and the economy are both in a nosedive. Most of the major proposals have already been revealed. They include an income tax cut for the middle class and a 1-year tax credit for first-time home buyers. But the White House promises a few surprises. Democrats stand ready with economic solutions of their own.
Now, some have called on the president to produce the economic equivalent of the Magna Carta this evening.